All right. Morning, everyone. Let's get going. All right. Break out the Dow 17,000 hats, baby, because here we come. We almost got there last night. We closed just below 17,000 on the Dow. We did close at a fresh record for the S&P and for the NASDAQ last night. So obviously, we continue to push higher. Yesterday, we finally got a outsized move in the equity markets. We talked about the NASDAQ. We showed the chart yesterday, showed how it's a leader. We showed how it's breaking out. And then we got follow through on the back of that yesterday, up over 1% in the NASDAQ, really just leading global markets higher. We did have a couple data pieces out yesterday. We had the ISM manufacturing and the PMI number for June in the States, and both of them were a miss, but only slightly so. It wasn't enough to stall the rally. So we managed to push higher there. You can see the end of the session, we gave up just a little bit of ground, but finished nicely to the better nonetheless. And Asia overnight, we also obviously had a beautiful follow through, a big day out of Australia with the miners really rallying, probably a lot on the back of the European session yesterday. All the mining stocks pushed really hard yesterday. We had a couple of upgrades I saw out of, I think it was Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, I can't remember, upgraded Rio Tinto. And obviously there was a little bit of corporate action there with some rumors of with Anglo's potentially buying one of their mines. So the sector really playing catch up and driving Australia higher. And we had Hang Seng also, which is playing catch up from not being open in the prior day session. Sorry. We had Tencent rallying hard, up at the moment as we speak about 3.5%. The casino and banking stocks really driving in Asia, as well as some of the export sales or export companies on auto companies on some of the strong U.S. auto sales. That was actually a big number yesterday. A lot of people waiting to see that maybe as a bit of a canary in the coal mine. The U.S. auto numbers yesterday came in at record, I think at 16.9 million units, and really kind of just saying that the consumer's healthy, people feeling good about where the economy is, and they're ready to spend money. So that was a real positive for the session in the States yesterday. Right, this is a really, really cool chart here that shows the the amount of companies that are going public right now that are actually losing money. These are companies with negative earnings in the States, obviously, but these are IPOs. You can see 83% of the companies going public right now are actually losing money, and the peak of all time for IPOs losing money was in 2000 at 84%. So I think that's really indicative. I actually mentioned yesterday one of the things, and it's without question never been so easy to get raise capital in the U.S. at the moment, especially for tech ideas. Even in 99, 2000, it wasn't as easy to raise money as it is now, and the money's cheap, and they're throwing it all over the place, hey guys, and this is a perfect point. And that kind of throws a little bit of a caution sign there to what's going on, especially with the NASDAQ. But obviously, these guys continue to party in the equity markets, to continue to drive them higher, and we've got to continue to follow the trend as they do push them higher. All right, there's no corporate action to report today. We have market data. We've got nationwide house prices out of the UK. We've got unemployment out of Spain. We've got PPI numbers for the Eurozone. We've got local consumer confidence at 12. And then we've got a slew of data coming out of the States, mortgage apps, ADP, employment change, factory orders, crude oil inventories. And Yellen is going to deliver a lecture at the IMF, which could be interesting. Not that she ever says anything that doesn't fly out of her mouth with wings, so I don't think it's really an issue. All right, let's get into the maps. All right, first thing we'll have a look at here is AngloGold, and if we look at this in the broader picture, we have AngloGold really breaking out of a flag pattern a few sessions ago, and really what's interesting about this is that level really coincides quite nicely with the 180 level You can see there very similarly, and if you draw it from the wick, it pretty much coincides exactly with the level. Either way, we're getting a breakout here in AngloGold. Yesterday was a little bit of a continuation. We came down, we tried just below it after we broke up through 180, but really kind of just looks like it was consolidating, putting in a little bit of a continuation. This thing definitely looks like it's maybe got a little bit more room to the upside, or technically it shows that it's got a lot of room to the upside, but it's just starting to get going. We've got gold, which is starting to push higher again. Rand's starting to soften, so maybe a couple things in some of the gold miners' corners at the moment. All right, we're looking at Sunlum here. Well, obviously, we'll drag this forward just to get a closer look, but we talked about this range the other day between about, call it 62.50, and I believe it was about 61, and we've been in that range for literally a whole month. And yesterday we broke out there with some sort of conviction, call it 60-70 on the downside. So we're probably going to be looking for a target up closer toward the 64.50, 65 level, somewhere in that range, for us to get to on Sunlum, and probably continuing more of the breakout from the continuation that we saw around here, which would take us up closer to 65. So watch Sunlum over the next couple sessions. I mean, this thing just continues to exhaust people, I think, just wearing the shorts out. We're not able to see a pullback in so many of these shares, especially the interest rate sensitive stocks. And so the bottom line is we're breaking out there. We're looking for a higher target. All right, Mr. Price also just couldn't fail from this level here. Broke out again. Same sort of thing. This thing just continues to impress at every opportunity. Probably looking for about, unnecessary, probably looking for about, I'd say $7-8 to the upside on Mr. Price, but I think it's run a big portion, if we back it out a little bit, it's probably run a big portion of the move that we were supposed to see on the breakout from here, which really I think takes us to about 188 on the move here out of this channel. So let's we're probably looking for somewhere between 188 to 190 on the breakout here in Mr. Price. If we look at another one here, we'll look at BGA, and it's also, I mean, all the banks, depending on how you want to draw it, it's messy because of all the wicks on the banks at the moment, but you can see there, to an extent, we've definitely been making a bit of a wedge formation, maybe a little descending triangle, and it looks like we've kind of popped out to the top of that. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing anything until we took out the previous closing highs, which are at or the recent closing highs, I should say, at 64.50. If we don't take that out, then I think it's hard to really say that this thing's breaking out, simply just because it's so wicky. But just keep an eye on these things. All these banks are starting to look very much like this. You can look at the first trends. You can look at the way that some of these things are moving. They're kind of looking like they're breaking out, depending on how you want to draw them. All of them starting to get a real bid again, and things like Standard Bank just kind of looking like they're consolidating here a little bit, maybe ready to push higher off of some support. So all of them right now starting to look hot again. I think just got to be really careful on the shorts because they could have a nice move to the upside here if they get too much more. If they get too much higher. All right, let's look at Billy's. Billy's, we talked about Billy's being in this range forever. I mean, this is the longest time I ever saw Billy's in a 10 Rand range. We looked at 4 or 5 months in a 10 Rand range in Billiton's. We broke above that and we really consolidated. You can see there, we couldn't really, we put in that one close below this level at 243, but we couldn't really you get a significant below it, couldn't really push lower, and you can see they're more or less kind of consolidating after we've broken out from this little range, and then now really pushing to the upside. And I think this clears the path for us to really come up and retest all-time highs and potentially even higher. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot. Be careful out there. Feeling a little bit squeezy yesterday. Let me show one more chart here. Sorry. Let's look at the Aussie. I should have shown that one as well. The Aussie really breaking out to new all-time highs. You can see there. This is just a 30-minute chart, but really popping up above what was resistance. Yesterday, you can see there we traded the whole day, not the whole day, the whole second half of the session, last 2 hours, 2.5 hours, kind of punching up against this previous all-time high. Couldn't pop through. We kind of actually only really popped through about a couple minutes after the close, and you can see that this morning we're really rallying up closer to 46,800, and there's there's a reasonably higher target still, for the Aussie here as well. So we continue to break out. This thing continues to hold on support. It continues to rally off the shallowest of pullbacks, and I think it's got a lot of people on the wrong side of the market. So just be careful out there. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.